The 19th annual India Business Conference brought together industry leaders, thinkers, and future entrepreneurs at Columbia Business School for a day filled with vibrant discussions and innovative ideas. Organized by the South Asia Business Association, the event centered around the theme of India 2.0, Unleashing Global Potential. The conference began with a lineup of dynamic speakers, each offering their own unique perspective on India's economic, social, and cultural landscape. Apurva Mehta, CEO of Dharma Productions, took the stage to share his insights on project assessment and viability in the film industry. In a candid conversation with Professor Sharad Devarajan, CEO of Liquid Comics, Mehta delved into the intricacies of the industry and the potential for growth in India. Amit Verma, Chief GM and Country Head of US Operations at the State Bank of India, offered a glimpse into the future of banking with the YONO app. YONO SBI, SBI's latest mobile banking offering, promises unparalleled convenience and accessibility, revolutionizing digital banking for customers across India and beyond. The conference also featured keynote addresses by Anant Narayanan, founder and CEO of Mensa Brands, and Chandrika Tandon, founder of the Krishnamurti Tandon Foundation and Tandon Capital Associates. Narayanan inspired aspiring entrepreneurs with his insights into startup culture, while Tandon captivated the audience with her multifaceted journey, touching on topics ranging from music to spirituality. Dr. Ram Madhav, author, social leader, and Indian politician, added depth to the discussion with his reflections on global leadership and cooperation. We're here at the 19th annual Indian Business Conference hosted by Columbia Business School and South Asian Business Association. There are a whole lot of panels and discussions going on, and this place is abuzz with people from faculty, students, professionals, industry leaders. Let's enjoy the panels. So, introduce yourself. What do you study here, and what do you hope to achieve from this conference?
Sure. Hi, I'm Firoz Muhammad, first year MBA student at Columbia Business School, and I'm originally from India, but I came to US to do my undergrad and worked here for 5 years. So I've been here for 10 years, and my reason for coming to this India Business Conference was to learn about what's happening in India in terms of business and investing side, because I was an engineer before, and I wanted to be on the investment side in the future, and this conference exposes me to what's happening by bringing relevant speakers in this field. So that's why I'm here. It's exciting so far. Yes.
What do you want to make your investments in?
Sure. I worked in clean energy before as an engineer in renewable energy, and it's a pivotal time for energy. These old way of doing things has to stop, and there's a lot more investment needs to flow into how we produce energy and move people in terms of EVs. So this seems like a very a growth area now, all across the world, not just India. So that's the area I want to focus in, and that's why I came to business school to transition from being an engineer to get those finance skills. I'll be working at investment bank, and then eventually probably move back to India and do something in this space.
So there are a lot of writers and filmmakers here, and they have independent voice. Does Dharma plan to set up shop here in US?
I not immediately right now, but we hope we reach that stage one day. We're making so many more films that we need to be in all parts of the world. But people have access to us now on email and everything else. So I mean, the world is a small place. So we have a creative team that we can write into, and then they kind of take a document and then they see it, and then if there's any scope, they look at it further.
People here, they have their own stories. They might be immigrant stories. They
Right.
may be something like Donkey, but of course better than that. Independent voices. They want, something like a corporatized system here. They want Dharma to be here.
I mean, we love to be here right
Yes.
now, but it's really difficult. To be honest, there's so much work going on there. It's tough to, you need somebody who's creatively stationed here, who does all of that, who understands things, and I think we're a little bit early for that yet. We are still kind of finding our own feet in India yet. So maybe in a few years, hopefully that might happen.
You are the proprietor of Liquid Comics, right?
I'm the founder of Graphic India and Liquid Comics. Yeah,
Okay.
that's right.
And how do you see traditional Indian stories being told through your comics?
Well, not just through our comics. I launched recently the animated series The Legend of Hanuman, which became the #1 show on Disney Plus Hotstar. It was a series that, again, took the amazing story of Hanuman and tried to convey it in the modern-day versions of animation that we were able to tell that story with. I've also had the good fortune of working with Rajamouli, the acclaimed director, on the animated series Bahubali: The Lost Legends, which we launched as one of the #1 shows in the country as well. So, a lot of what we have been doing is unlocking incredible creativity across the country in both comics, animation, and live action. I was the producer on the Archie's film, which we recently launched with the amazing Zoya Akhtar, who was the director and filmmaker behind that, which is now on Netflix as well. So a lot of how we look at it is great stories transcend any one medium. They live in all kinds of mediums: comics, animation, live action. We're doing a lot in the video game space and interactive media as well.
So, Ashka, you're on the organizing team. Talk about what goes into planning something of this stature.
Sure. So we've been planning the conference for almost 7 months now, and definitely it's not a 1 or a 2% job. It took a whole team, a whole village to put this up together. And it's not just one thing, right? We're coordinating with the speakers, the sponsors. We have to make sure everything is in place for the attendees. But all in all, I would say it was hard work, but it paid off well. We're very happy with how the turnout is. The speakers are happy, the attendees are happy, and we're looking forward to the rest of the day.
So, Pratibha, what was your role in organizing this conference and what is the turnout like for you?
Thank you, Nidhi, first of all, for being here. My role has been the co-president of the club, South Asia Business Association, as well as the co-chair of the conference along with Ashka. And the turnout has been nothing less than amazing. We have sold out all the tickets and the hall has been overflowing. So we are very happy with the turnout and people have been very happy with the speaker lineup.
Hi everyone, my name is Dr. Sneha Ghazi. I'm actually a Columbia graduate from the medical department. I'm a physical therapist and I have a physical therapy practice in Manhattan. And I also have a nonprofit as well called Physical Therapy International Service Foundation. Everything we do is around healthcare and medicine and physical therapy. And through my practice, I'm a pelvic health specialist, so we treat a lot of a range of conditions from pregnancy to menopause to male and female pelvic health. And then through my nonprofit, our aim is to help underserved communities who don't have access to physical therapy services and health education, to really empower them to feel more confident in their bodies and be able to function in everyday society with more ease and better movement. So I'm just here to meet a lot of really cool people and come back to my university. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
So, Mr. Verma, welcome to Columbia University. Talk about the new initiatives that State Bank of India is introducing or something that is in the pipeline.
Yeah, as you would have seen in my presentation also, we are there in every space. State Bank of India has been leading from the front in every vertical. And as you want to know what is the new which is coming for the US operations, the YONO app which I spoke about is going to become a reality in United States as well. So we are shortly going to launch that YONO mobile app, which is a very customer-friendly, user-friendly product with lot of features and which is going to be a big boon for the customers of our US operations. So that is a very good development which is going to happen very shortly. And of course, on all the IT front, on the risk management, we have been doing phenomenally well and will continue to do so.
Tell me, you mentioned that you were in McKinsey for like 15 years. Yes. And people should leave anything what they're doing more, earlier than that. So would there be any side hustle you would recommend for people who are into startups?
Yeah, so firstly, I didn't mean that you should. I think McKinsey is a great institution, so if you want to stay, you should stay for as long as you can. I just meant that if you want to start something, you should start earlier than later. As far as startup entrepreneurs are concerned, I would say start to learn 1 or 2 skills, right? Maybe it's performance marketing, maybe it's coding. So as you're doing whatever you're doing, if you can start to learn some skills that'll be useful for you to build a brand, I think that would be good to do.
So what was your thought process in those 15 years? Did you ever imagine that you will be, going as a founder and CEO and all those big titles?
No, I did not. To be honest, I actually was quite happy with what I was doing at McKinsey. So this opportunity sort of came by chance. in many cases, I think a lot of life is about luck. So I think sometimes you get lucky. I think this is a good opportunity that came my way and I sort of took it and it worked out.
You've made so many sacrifices in your life. You know, you were so fierce. You were getting everywhere. You got everything that you desired, but you made a lot of sacrifices. Maybe that was the need of the hour also at that point. But in today's circumstances, do you think a woman needs to make so many sacrifices to balance her work life?
See, this is a journey, right? We are immigrants. I was an immigrant. And we all pave the way so that the next generation can have a better life. And the next generation paves the way so that the generation after them can have a better life. So a lot of how I think about my life is planting a sequoia tree. The tree doesn't bear fruit in your lifetime, but it serves generations after that. And I think that's what it's all about. It's not about me. Anything I did was not really for me. I had some psychic satisfaction, don't get me wrong. But a lot of it was planting a sequoia tree, and that's what I want my life to be about, which is, for me, the benefits are the service itself. And yes, things have gotten easier, but I will tell you that the journey for all women, if they're working very intensive jobs and are very, very importantly involved in their careers and have got families, is the details are different, but that's what they go through, you know. And so I wouldn't minimize anyone else's sacrifice. I think the details are different, and I think the circumstances are different. I think we are more compassionate about people's sacrifices. We are more understanding. Perhaps in our time, there was less understanding. There were fewer of us.
You know what we called as Look East policy in 90s. Narasimha Rao vintage, P.V. Narasimha Rao was the Prime Minister. 10 years passed, Vajpayee became Prime Minister. He realized, look east means we are just looking east. So he said, no, act east. You have to do something, just not looking. So we started doing also. Today we work very closely. You know, one of the strongest, free trade agreements that we have is with ASEAN. In fact, I would say many very big trade happens between ASEAN and India. So we always had it on priority. It's another matter. China goes with deep pockets. It goes with strong financial muscle. We go with deep sentiments. 2,000 years of our connect with all these countries. We go with that sentiment, that emotion. We also work with them.
Hi, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Apurva. I am a graduate student at Columbia University doing my master's in applied analytics.
Is this your first conference you're attending, or you've attended it before?
The South Asian Indian Business Association is my first conference that I'm attending at CBS School.
Who all did you listen to so far?
So I just attended the AI conference right now, and I'm going for Purva Mehta from Dharma Productions. Really looking forward to that happening right now. It's been super interesting getting insights from the industry leaders. It's also been very mind-changing because we just heard a simple one line that said, everyone, you need to learn writing, but you don't need to become a writer. Everyone needs to be good at reading and writing, but if you don't want to become a writer, that's fine. But just knowing and having that skill is so useful. And that changed my perspective about my own major, being applied analytics. I don't need to be super into tech field, but knowing and having that skill is just so useful. And I'm really looking forward to hearing the rest of the speakers that are going to come today. Super excited to learn more from industry leaders, especially from India.
Thank you so much.
Hi, I'm Mahima Sharma. I'm a first-year CBS student, full-time.
What do you study here?
I'm studying MBA, so I'm a first-year MBA student, and I want to specialize in product management. Yes. Yeah. I think I'm just curious to understand what he thinks about business and entertainment in the Indian landscape, because it's obviously more refined, and I think Indian audience are more receptive to just entertainment and content. So just curious what he thinks from that lens, and how he as a CEO and the finances, how do they think of that as a business, as a long-term future, obviously with AI too.
Right, so he gave me lots of insights, not only the directors but also how the other professions can get into the filmmaking. So it was very useful to know that.
Do you
that
want to
aspect.
consider filmmaking as something you
Maybe
might
in
want to
future,
get?
yes. I have interest. Like every week we watch around like 2 to 3 films in the theater, right? So for a person who has like movie
What kind of
enthusiasm,
films do you like to watch?
we watch everything. Like especially for me, thrillers or sci-fi, and genres around like romantic something.
Which was
So,
the
yeah.
last Dharma movie that you watched and you enjoyed?
I'm not really sure about that. But yeah, we watch, say, like until last week, we were watching every 2 to 3 movies which we release every week. We watch those.
And do you watch Coffee with Karan?
Yes, I do.
Yeah? Which was
Yes.
your favorite episode?
Favorite one?
Yeah.
So recently, the one with Ori, it was good. But yeah, my friends, they follow more with the Karan Johar specifically. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And are you film students by any chance?
Yeah.
Okay, can I ask you something?
Sure.
Okay. So you just witnessed Apurva Mehta's panel. What did you think of that?
I think it was very insightful coming from India myself. I think it was good to know how like the industry works, and being a film student, I think just weighing out our opportunities and here and going back home, I think it was really insightful that way, because as filmmakers we want to make stuff for India, and growing up with Bollywood, it's always been very exciting to just hear how the whole industry works in general.
So your stories are very Indian, I suppose, and you want to go back to India and make those films.
Oh, definitely, because like I said before, like we have grown up with Bollywood, and watching Karan Johar's movies has been one of the things we did as a family, and we would go to the theaters and stuff. So I think just having the opportunity to hear the backstory of how these are made, it was amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You study at Columbia?
No, I don't study at Columbia.
Okay, but you came to attend this conference.
Yes, my best friend from college studies at Columbia, so I'm just visiting for the weekend.
Did you attend any of these?
Yeah, I attended the Invest in India one and the previous tech one. I think they're very solid. Everyone's very bullish on India. And for a reason, the numbers speak louder than the words. So there's an opportunity for us to. I mean, so someone asked a question about how many of the people in the room are going back to India. I think 80% of the room raised their hands. So that's I think a very positive sign. And there's a lot of good talent going back to India. So even I'm going back to India. So it looks like a promising opportunity. I'm looking forward to it.
What have you studied here?
I'm doing my MBA as well in Boston. So.
And you think you are equipped enough to go back to India, impart your wealth of knowledge there, and change India in any way?
So I think India is a very unique place where it's not I think in the past a lot of people have done is they've tried to apply Western business models to India as like a copy and paste, and that's failed. That doesn't work. I think India is a very unique place. The consumer is very unique. Is very price sensitive, and then there's extremes. So to really be able to succeed in India, you have to live and work in India, and have to sort of see the problems for yourself. So I think this prepares you well enough with some business concepts, the MBA. But once you go back, the reality is on the ground, and you have to study that and then make a business for that environment.
Fair enough. So you would go back to India,
Yeah.
but you haven't studied MBA from India, but you
No.
have to start from the scratch. Why didn't
Right.
you just stay back there and equip yourself with better tools?
So I did my undergrad in the US, but then I went back to India. I worked in India for about 4.5, 5 years, and now I'm doing my MBA here, and I'm going to go back. So I think the idea is get the best.
Calling?
Sorry?
So they's
100%. Yeah. That's the idea. Going back.
Thank you so
For sure. Awesome. Pleasure.
Graphic India and Liquid Comics. On to you guys.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction, and thanks to everyone here. It is rare that I get to interact with someone who has such a real profound impact on media and, so much of an impact on me personally. So thank you for everything that you've done, and I'm very excited for this conversation to take place today. But I want to go back in time a bit and go to the start of your journey. I know you started in media with Yash Raj Films, and would love to just first understand why media was a passion to you, why you chose that, and then eventually how that led to this journey.
Hi, good afternoon everyone. Great to see so many of you on a Saturday afternoon. I hope I make it interesting enough for you guys. So, thank you Sharan, of course. For me, I think my career was, for a lot of people, their careers are happy accidents, and I'm probably a testament to that. There's a really interesting story, if you have some little bit of time, about how I became friends with Karan. We met in the 6th grade because he was moved from the A division to the C division, which I was in. And the school must have got changed, and he was the only kid who was shifted. So he was extremely upset because all his life he had been in the A division and he had no friends here. And then he went to the principal and he said, "Miss, can I please be sent back in the A division?" And she said, "No, we can't do that. The master's finalized. I'll move you back next year." But then she got into the classroom and she said, "Who will be friends with Karan?" And for some strange reason, I put my hand up. I don't know why I did it, but I'm very thankful that I did it. So he was made to sit next to me, and I think he had a bit of a culture shock because I was this Gujarati boy who used to bring pro class and khandvis to school and for lunch, and he used to bring exotic cookies and Hershey's chocolate. He was always a more evolved even at that age. We were very good friends. We became basic friends through school. He moved back to the A division in the 7th grade, but our friendship remained strong through the years. We finished school and then we were applying for our undergrad courses. We had arts, commerce and science as an option. I took commerce. He wanted to take arts. His mother threw a fit. She said arts is for girls. Can't take arts. So he said, okay, then I'll take commerce, but on the condition that you put me in the same college as Apurva. So we were back together in college, attending classes, after classes, going for drives in the night. And at that same time, through a common friend, he got friendly with Aditya Chopra. And Aditya Chopra got friendly with all of us, and we used to go and hang at his house in the night. And that was really the time, I think, that was my first brush with films and actors. And we used to have Mr. Amitabh Bachchan and Shah Rukh Khan always in the house. And it was just such a casual environment. It was so wonderful. And we used to just enjoy films. We used to enjoy watching films. It was never about the actors, it was about watching the films. College got done and he assisted Aditya Chopra on the Balabhirani journey. I joined my family business when my father passed away, and I had to kind of attend to that. He finished that, he went on to direct his own film, Kuch Kuch Hota Hai. By that time, I was working in my family business and realizing I had very little contribute there. We were 4 of us as cousins, and there was only one person who really required to be there. And, the factory was in the heart of Bombay. We were doing copper in the wire bars, and strips. And I figured that this is not something that I can see myself doing for the rest of my life, because the factory was in the heart of Bombay and we would eventually have to shift to an industrial zone. So I said, I can't do this. So I said, what do I do now? I was just a graduate. So I figured that I need to try and get an MBA and then get a job and follow the trajectory of Indian does when they're abroad. So I started putting up my applications, and Karan called me that day and he said, listen, would you mind? He said, do you want to go to the UK and work for Yash Raj Films because they're in a distribution office. So that sounded great because I could work and study simultaneously. I was married by this, my wife was working.
So has your strategy evolved, or is it fairly opportunistic right now?
No, the strategy hasn't evolved. I think we are very cognizant of what's happening. We realize that the South has a far more superior storytelling capability and even technical skill sets. So of course we're looking actively at filmmakers from the South, and they're all also very keen to progress in the Hindi section of cinema. So we are looking at that, but we're not doing it. There's no strategy that if something good comes along, we do it. But otherwise, we want that stories that we like, and we feel that it resonates with the audiences. I had experience in running a distribution setup, but this Dharma was a film production company. So in a sense, for me, it was like starting all over again. The only thing I think both of us knew that we had a very clear vision for the company. We wanted to reach a stage where we make wonderful films. We become a recognized and respected name in storytelling globally and in India, of course. Embrace digital innovation, and we put out diverse content that really goes beyond traditional Bollywood narratives. I had an MBA with me, which I managed to do when I was in the UK, but the film business is not about modalities. Like to give an example, like illegalities. You draw up a contract and you expect everyone to abide by it. But it's impossible to write on all the process when you're making films. And you soon realize that you need to develop a really strong temperament to handle people, situations, and egos. So and the worst part was that Karan was actually not at all inclined towards the operation and business aspects of films, because his father handled all of that. So he didn't even look into that. He was a creative genius and he just worked on making the film. So I learned this example that when I flew down in this particular instance, and then I joined him and we had a bunch of people meeting us, and one gentleman came up to us and he said, "Hi Karan, how are you?" We said, "Hello, how are you?" Thinking he's some family friend or something. He said, "I'm your CA." And I think I had my party like that day. I said, "This is really terrible." And there was this other instance where he was signing some papers, and then the accountant gave him the checkbook and he signed it. He said, "Ye kya kar rahe ho?" This is, he gave an autograph. I said, "This is the checkbook." So it was really scary in a sense, and we used to laugh at that because we didn't know what we had to do. We just had to figure out something, you know. So I think the first step that I did there was to get a sense of the finances. How is the money moving out and how is the money coming in? How is it being utilized? You know, I think my training at Yashraj was really, really beneficial. It was almost like I was trained there to kind of help this position of mine. Then the second job was to put in place an accounting system that helped me understand the accounts better and integrate, you know, budget versus actuals, financial accounting and management reporting, because, you know, it was a bit too complicated to have different setups for all these three things. And the third thing was to really build an organization structure where we get people who are good at what they do and help me delegate authority within the company and hopefully make it a better place. So yes, so that was 17 years ago. I think we've done okay. We've grown from 25 people when I joined. We didn't even have a website at that point in time. We had 150 people in the organization. We progressed from making one film a year to 4 to 5 films every year. We set up Dharmatic. We set up Dharma 2.0 in 2016 and Dharmatic in 2019. Dharma 2.0 is really a commercial production arm. It was a logical extension to leverage our production and our creative capabilities. Dharmatic, I was very clear that we have to navigate the move towards digital platforms, you know, because given the love for our storytelling at theatres, it only made sense to kind of bring the same storytelling to the digital space. So we started Dharmatic in 2019, and most recently, Karan's always giving free advice to all the actors, so we said we should make some money off it. So we started BCA, which is a talent agency firm which we represent actors and other.
Creating business things to lead a creative company, or is it about process and empowering teams and, you know, really creating the right kind of ecosystem and culture?
You know, so the film business is a people's business. It's actually 70% about handling people and it's 30% about work. You know, you're constantly having to handle egos and temperaments. I mean, there was a saying, I should not be saying it very loudly, I should repeat it. Someone said that to me, and I so true. They said there are 3 types of species. There is human beings, animals, and actors. Human beings are different species. So it is a challenge. Having said that, you know, the role of a producer is like that of an entrepreneur. You know, you've got to focus on location, you've got to focus on balancing resources and talent. And as a producer, you definitely do have to do these things, because it's the backbone of ensuring that a good script is selected, the film is produced well, and marketed and distributed well. In fact, even actors and directors want a strong producer, because however good your script is, eventually you also want to make sure that the film is produced efficiently with the correct resources within budget. And at the organization level, it's equally important, because respect within the organization for the creative team stems from your individual work. You know, so for a person who's leading a creative team, you have to kind of ensure you lead with empathy and you build an environment which encourages creativity. You know, you need to trust your team's creative instincts, and you need to foster a culture where creative ideas can thrive. And you've got to, as a leader of a creative team, you've got to encourage risk-taking, continuous learning, and most importantly, you need to reward people for their strengths. You know, we are doing that now. You know, we realize the importance of writers. You know, we make sure they position correctly on films. You know, we are empowering our creative teams by giving them better designations on a film, or a higher designation in the credits of the film. Because eventually this is a passion business, and it is driven by creative people. So you have to take care of it.
So one last question, then I want to open it up. You've had such an amazing journey yourself, right? A lot of it has been great fortune, as you talked about, very far. But we've also seen a lot of executives, leaders, creative people succeed, fail. What's some advice you would give to all of them as they begin their journeys? And it's kept kind of you in focus of maybe things that life lessons you've learned.
So this is a really dynamic industry, and I think you need to be resilient. Like I said before, you need to have strong temperament to handle people's difficult situations. We also realized that we were quite smart in some sense that we soon realized that working in isolation never pays dividends. We've got to collaborate and form alliances. So we've actually pivoted now from being a production house to operating as a studio. We are now we're collaborating with others. We're distributing films. We're producing films. We're presenting films. We've got to keep evolving within the system. At the individual level, I think you need to have a complete holistic view of the industry. You need to understand production, distribution, and the evolving digital landscape. As individuals, I would advise you that you network. It's important. You find a good mentor. You network, you find a good mentor, and essentially gain a lot of experience across various aspects of this industry. But at the same time, you also need to be true to your passions and your beliefs, despite all the uncertainties and the changing landscape. Because the great thing about this industry is that talent always gets rewarded. People recognize talent. It takes time sometimes, and you have to have patience and some amount of good luck. But there is a silver lining out there. And you have to have the faith, I think, that there is a revolution that is a quiet revolution that is happening. There is an expansion of all formats of storytelling, all genres of storytelling. And everyone is constantly looking out for new voices in every stream of content creation. So it's a tough road, but it's not impossible.
Well, fantastic. Let's open it up and get some questions. Yeah.
Larger than life franchise films, high concept films like you see 12th Fail. And you see the high concept films you all know, like Rocky and Rani, which is the large tentpole films are Rocky and Rani, you've got Pathaan, all of that. So these are the two films that will survive, and all the middle order will now straight into the OTT platform. And we will, and people often say that will the business go down further, will it disappear? I don't think so, to be honest, because I feel like for Indians, it's not watching films is not a casual outing, it's a social experience. We live in most Indians live in small homes with many family members. Where do you go out? You can't just keep eating and shopping. You need some other form of entertainment. And I think Bollywood is its own very brand. It's a culture. It's a celebration, unlike anywhere in the world. So I have high hopes that cinema will continue to do well in spite of everything else. But yes, we have to also change the way we adapt to the new environment. We have to now tell stories that are local but have a universal appeal. You've got to leverage OTT platforms for a wider global reach. You've got to invest in technology to enhance content delivery and also to provide experiential viewing experience to the audience. So there are multiple things. You have to collaborate with international studios to broaden our footprint. So you have to change the way of working, but there is hope.
And to the economics of how you think of a decision on movies to greenlight change too, is it more about thinking about how much is the global take on this versus how much is the domestic? Is domestic really the dominant focus still of everything you have to produce?
So it really depends on the kind of film you make. For us, I think the NRIs love us a lot. So we are the only company, I think, who makes films where 50% of our earnings come from the international audiences. So thank you all of that. So it just depends. It just depends. It's not. There's no fixed thumb rule. It just depends on the film, on the content.
One of the other things we've seen in the North American sort of ecosystem of film over the last decade or so is the introduction of the Marvel Universe, the dependency on franchise versus the power of the movie star. And I'd argue Tom Cruise is probably the last big movie star in Hollywood today. But in India, the power of movie stars is still very strong.
Yes.
How do you think that's going to forecast in the future? What do you think the economic strength of that is? There's probably a pro and con to it in terms of running a studio.
So, you can't dismiss the power of a star, especially when it comes to the opening of a film. Even today, big stars have a very loyal fan base and they guarantee big openings. But in today's time, star power alone cannot ensure success and longevity of film. the content also has to work simultaneously with the star appeal. You know, India is a star worshipping country. We are the only country in the world where actors are endorsing everything. You know, lifestyle products, healthcare products, steel, banks, insurance. It's crazy. I mean, everybody is obsessed with stars. So yes, when you cast a star, you definitely give a stronger face value because you're sure the better opening for that. But franchise films, which is what he's working on now, they are slightly different. What happens in a franchise is that franchise's biggest strength is its character. You know, so for studios, franchise films are therefore important to studios because they, in a sense, shift the balance of power from the actor to the character. You know, audiences enjoy the character's journey across multiple installments, and they form a bond with the character and the universe. And once the first film is successful and a fan base is created, this existing fan base is then available to the next film. You know, and mounting and marketing the subsequent films is also easier because you're not starting from ground zero and you have there is a certain expectation and eagerness for the film. And the biggest advantage of franchise films is that you're able to leverage the characters across multiple revenue streams. You know, you have merchandising, you have memorabilia, you have licensing. So the IP of the film continues to live even when the film is not in theaters. You know, that is the biggest advantage of franchise films.
There is still a lot of physical forms, you know, going to the retail banking to change your address and things like that. So from your perspective in the next 3 to 5 years, like how do you plan to tackle like customer identity and issues around KYC and things from an India standpoint, because it's just such a complex landscape when it comes to these kind of problems that the West has tackled with SSN and things like that.
As you would have seen in my presentation too, now we have moved to electronic KYC, where remotely from your home, from the comfort of your home, you can send your updated documents and you needn't come to the branch anymore. That is the very purpose, that is the idea of moving the customers away from the footfalls, minimizing the footfalls. And it is, of course, you are aware of the literacy level in India. In some parts of the country where the literacy is not as much, there still people are flocking onto these to branches. But we have that provision and we are promoting it in a big way, so that people don't have to come only for giving your mobile number change, because that is the main, the interest of the customers, the main security. For that alone, you have to come to the branch.
Banks have been trying to catch up. Now that Paytm finds itself in this situation in regulation crosshairs, does SBI think of Paytm as a friend or as a competitor?
Initially, when these fintechs came, the general perception was that they're going to be a competitor for us. But given the limitations which these Paytm and other apps have, they cannot get into full-fledged banking. So there will never be any threat, not alone to SBI, to the general banking sector as a whole. But of course, we are collaborating, we are trying to find the strengths which they have. All banks, including SBI, are trying to partner with them for a better customer experience. They have, of course, their own USPs, and the partnership is going on, but absolutely the early perception that they're going to be a threat for us has dissipated. Absolutely.
About like whether it's actually better to be branded or one of these platforms. I mean, there's such an array of them. Flipkart, I'm thinking, to Amazon, and then some of the vertical ones as well. So Myntra, Nykaa, Ajio, there's no major platform. It seems quite a fragmented market. So within that, I mean, what is it better to be branded?
So again, a great question. So unlike the US, where I think between 91 and 94% is Amazon, then you have a little bit of Walmart, and then you have everybody else, right? So in India, there is no real, and I wouldn't say, I think there is a market leader. I still have Flipkart stock. There is a market leader, but I think it is evenly split, right? So, Myntra now is an Ajio's competitor. Flipkart has Amazon. A few years ago, quick commerce didn't exist. And now, you have new distribution channels through Blinkit and Instacart, Instamart, and so on. So I think it's better to be a brand, because you have lots and lots of distribution levels, right? So
Here, Amazon can change your commission structure overnight. It's not so easy to do in a multi-platform strategy in India. Therefore, it's more sustainable.
And talk to me, about, of course, this is the success of your company here, and the first unicorn in Asia, and I believe the second fastest to reach unicorn status in the world, in fact. So talk to us about your plans for the future. Are there any plans to IPO?
Yeah, so we do. We do have plans to IPO. So for all the business school students, I think valuation is ephemeral. Ownership, on the other hand, is quite real. So I think we get lucky sometimes and get good valuations. Sometimes you don't. So whenever you're lucky, you take the money. I think I see. Yeah, so there are many entrepreneurs here in the room. Whenever you get the money, you take it. But look, we're very proud about the business we've built. In a couple of years, we're a $200 million revenue run rate business, with 7 of our brands now all being north of 150 crores each, which are 75% of our business. So it's very sustainable. What we would love to do is, over the next 3, 4, 5 years, take the company public. In India, consumer brands, whether it's Unilever, Marico, Dabur, trade very well. So we want to try and build this as an institution. So if you think about it, it took 20, 30, 40, 50 years for many of these companies to be built. I think we can build a consumer brands company which is built on tech and built very differently in the next 10 years, and that can be at scale. I think we can get to $1 billion revenue, we can get to a profitable business that we think will be well traded in the market. So yes, we'd love to go public in a few years.
And what's kind of the difference, and I meant to ask this earlier, and I think it's important, what else here that you're seeing?
So I think the next 10 years are the most exciting 10 years to build brands from India. So there are two things that are happening. The first is the domestic market is exploding. We are at, call it, what, $2,800 to $3,000 per person in terms of GDP per capita, right? Lots of studies from some consulting firms like McKinsey say, at $3,400, $3,500, you start to actually want brands. You're starting to pay premium for brands. So I think there's a massive opportunity to build brands when the GDP per capita goes up because you're willing to pay a little bit of premium for it. I think the second is, given the rails that have been built, right, which is almost free data, everybody having a mobile phone, you are able to connect and segment consumers in a micro manner. And I think that's very, very different, right? So you're able to understand the end consumer dramatically better than you used to. If you're at Unilever, you actually don't know your customer because you have 3 levels of separation, right? Because you have a distributor, you have a super stockist, you have a distributor, you have a retailer, and the retailer buys. And you don't really interact with the consumer. On the other hand, if you sell direct to consumers, your ability to understand consumer behavior is dramatically better, and therefore you can actually build dramatically better brands. So I think these are the two things that are changing, and I think there's a massive sort of domestic opportunity, which I think gives you the scale necessary in order to have global aspirations. I don't know if that makes sense, but I think you can build because you have a large home base, and then you also have global aspirations.
And I'm also thinking about the online versus offline aspect, and just getting your thoughts on that in general.
Yeah. So look, firstly, it's impossible to build brands in India without offline. It's just impossible. The reason is the brand doesn't become real until you see it on a shop, until you see it physically somewhere. There are break points in India. So, there's sub 20 crores, so sub $2-3 million, sub $15 million, and 15 million to 100 million. So 100 crores to 500 crores to 1,000 crores are very, very different. Anytime a brand crosses 100 crores in revenue, $15 million in revenue or thereabouts, you need to have an offline presence. I think you can track the consumer, you can do brand building online, but distribution, you need to be available where the consumer is. And most of India, at least, still shops offline. So you have to be able to build offline, but you can build offline differently. So, sorry, just 30 seconds on why building offline differently. We have a brand called Dennis Lingo. It's men's casual wear. It's an affordable value brand for the first jobber who's in IT services, right? They don't want to wear an Alan Solly or a Louis Philippe because you don't want to wear a father's shirt, right? You want to wear something cooler, trendier, easier. Maybe some of you want to wear your father's shirt, but most folks don't. But the interesting thing is we've just started offline. And the way we put up our stores is very, very, very data specific, right? So you know
from which pin codes consumers are buying their sling. So we know that Hyderabad is the best location to put the first store, and therefore you increase your probabilities. So you can do offline differently, but I do think you need offline in order to do it.
Left because I formed my own company. I was doing multiple restructurings, and each restructuring was more mega than the next. So what I did is I would go in, completely transform the company. I would take equity stakes in the company, either it was phantom stock or performance based, and that's what my company did. And I would work with one institution at a time. And I was a disclosable SEC event. So because the stock price would go up whenever a company hired me, because 10 or 12 companies would come to me and I'd pick one. So this was a situation in Europe, one of the largest financial institutions. I'd been in discussions with them, and I almost decided to work with them. So I'd spent a whole week with the management team, the board, and everything, and they had to announce it. But something stopped me on Friday. I was flying back. I was the only person sitting in first class, the only one, and I was reading the autobiography of a yogi, which is, it's not the kind of book I normally read, and those were the days before Kindle, mind you. So I'm carrying this box of business books, and this random book is sitting there. So I read this book and I'm crying all the way. Of course I can happily cry because I'm the only person sitting in the plane at that time, right? So I'm weeping like some sort of crazy banshee. And so I read through the whole flight, and all I'm supposed to do is call them and tell them I will agree to the deal. Because I said to them, it's a weekend, give me a chance to go talk to my family before I do the deal. That whole weekend I didn't get back to them. I didn't eat, I didn't do anything. One might call it a nervous breakdown. It wasn't, because everything was working pretty well in my life, but it was a crisis of spirit. And I couldn't do it because I had to really think about what is success in life. What am I going to do? This was another 8, 10, 11 month deal. I'd have been spending my intense time doing it. I'd have made lots of money, but I wasn't sure this is going to be it reminded me of a hamster on a treadmill, you're just going on, the next deal, okay, this will promote me in the next stratosphere, so then what? Okay, the next stratosphere. 4 of you are sitting there and saying, oh, she's great, does my life change? 4 of you are saying, she's so terrible, does my life change? Not really. So I had to suddenly ask all these crazy questions, which they're first world problems in some way, but they were important first world problems to me at that stage. So I redid my life, and after a week of, fortunately there were no cell phones, no emails at that time, so no one could reach me. So I didn't reply to the Time for about 5 days, most unprofessional. And basically that's what happened. And I redid my whole life. I didn't do the deal, and started to rethink how I wanted to live, what made me happy. I redid. Om Namo Narayanaya, Narayanaya. 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 Om Namo Narayanaya.